So hello, everybody, and welcome to the final hackathon wrap-up. Today, we're going to present all of the progress that we've done during this hackathon, and I'm really excited to hear what the different hackathon project teams were working on. We will start with the NF Core Tools development team, and I think Matthias Höttenhuber will be showing us the progress for this team today.
Yes. So wait, for the slides, are you showing all the slides or?
Yes, I will be showing all the slides.
Okay,
if you like, if you like to share yourself, you can.
No, because Phil then will share his screen. Just that we don't share too many things.
Okay,
good.
Perfect.
So,
yeah.
But then we can start. So yeah, next slide. Next slide. So yeah, we were basically 3 people, 2.5 people, because Steve then switched over to DSL2, I think. Yes, I also actually was first in the new pipeline, so it's a big jumping around here. Next slide, please. But of course, Phil was heavily involved in the issues, in the tools thing. So Stephen mainly focused on fixing some open issues. So next slide. There he fixed the NF Core list commands to show not show the archived pipelines, and also if you really want to see them, there's a flag for that. Next slide. Yes. So
Susanna, can you just hit refresh, please? Because I think we've edited this since you've loaded this page. Maybe, yeah, there we go. Maybe go back a few slides.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. But then it's still task 1. There's still some additional stuff, I think. Yes. So if you next slide. Yes. He also added that NF Core checks if there is any newer version available and prints that into the console. Next slide. Yes, that was kind of Phil's task. It was to get 1.10 out or ready-ish. Next slide. So yeah, as he said last time, his big magic move is to just move stuff to the next version to get stuff done. But he actually got still some things done. He improved NF Core Sync, put some work into the template for the next sync, and wrote loads of tests where jumping, I think, 20% of test coverage for NF Core Sync. And then next slide, I think we're coming ready for the live. Oh, Phil, do you want to show it here, the link thing? Because
I'll do it at the end to minimize jumping.
Okay, yeah, because he also did some more eye candy stuff, which he will show. But first, a bit about my things. Next slide. Where I was working on getting the JSON schema parameters into the documentation of each pipeline. Next slide. If there's a schema available, it will be now rendered, or soon when this pull request is accepted, it will be rendered below the usage MB. So the future, every person responsible for pipelines has to kind of figure out what to put where, basically move all the description of the parameters into the JSON schema, so that is then automatically done. Otherwise, there will be weird duplicates. And yeah, with that, slowly the documentation will be automated, which will be really, really nice. We also will have a new table of contents on the sides. Currently, it's just a file tree, but in the future, it will be actually the headings, and you can jump to the different headings. And a third thing will be that you can look through the different versions of the documentation. So if you want to go back in time or look at the development version where you're currently working on to see if it will be rendered correctly on the website or not. So this is almost there. I have some stuff to fix, but I'm confident that soon this will be out.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for the developments.
Yeah, so this is, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, this is how it looks like. So on the top, you see the old usage.md. And on the bottom is the newly rendered from the schema with the nice icons. And on the right, you see the table of contents.
Very nice. It looks really nice.
Yes, and also if you have like markdown inside your text for the parameters, like in the help or in the description, it will be rendered as markdown correctly. So if you go next, I think then it will come to, yes, the fills. Yeah, I think this it's just eye candy, but it's nice. It will hopefully help people to get the information which we print in the command line a bit better, because it really looks less like 80s and more like 2000s-ish, how stuff is printed in the command line. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, all came from a Slack comment from Julianus that there's this rich library, and yeah, now we have it in the code base, and also the developer of which offered his help. So it's a very, very nice and yeah, positive experience of how this can go. Next slide. Yes. So now we'll switch to Phil's.
Okay, so
Screen.
Sharing. Yeah, looking forward to this live demo.
Thank you for the wrap up. That was really good. Yeah, so as Matthias said, I got totally carried away after Julianus pointed out this library. The library itself is even really new. I think it's mostly been written by this guy during the COVID hackathon when he's been in lockdown. And we originally came across it because we're using these markdown strings in the schema. So Julianus put together a pull request where that markdown is rendered on the command line using this library, which is like just blew my mind that you can actually do that you can render markdown. So I started looking at it and got way overexcited, and basically haven't done anything useful this week because I've just been going around with this library. So I thought I'd give you a live demo. This is using the current stable release of NF Core, just so you know what it currently looks like. If I make a new pipeline, it looks like that. And then if I switch to this tab, I can make a pipeline with the current development version. And look at that, we've got some nice colored text, and just the logs look better, and you can kind of see, you can click through actually to exactly where these log messages came from and all kinds of stuff. And if there's an error, you get really lovely tracebacks. So that's the same for basically every NF Core output, is that it's just everything is a bit more pretty. If I then do, if I try and lint the output, there's two main commands I've done a lot of work on. So this is the existing link commands, which everyone will have probably seen before, which is just very boring and flat. There we go. And then we have sun coloring before, but which is kind of cool. And like if your terminal supports it, you could probably click on these, but it's still fairly basic. Whereas now, and you can see if like stuff wraps over your screen, it goes onto 2 lines and stuff. Whereas now if I lint it with the new one, we have just the nicest progress bar. And then when it finishes, we get a really lovely rendering of the output. So the lines don't exceed the full width of your terminal. It's clever enough to know how wide your terminal is. Everything's put into nice tables. These are actually URLs, so you can click on these if your terminal supports it, and if not, you can still copy out the URL and you get the nice summary. And all of this is rendered as markdown, so the lint error messages we can now format nicely with italics and code blocks and stuff. So anyway, this is totally pointless. And it's just completely like nerdy, but I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I disagree that it's pointless. It's awesome, and it will surely make more people use the NF Core tools.
Yeah, there you go.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
These are all links, look, now. How cool is this when you do NF Core list? You can just click on the load the RNA Fusion webpage in my browser. We're living in, as Matthias says, we're living in the 2020s. Anyway, yeah, that'll come out in the next release, so you can look forward to that. That's me.
Okay, thank you for this, the summary of the exciting NF Core tools developments, and we can proceed now with the DSL2 module slides. I'll make sure to refresh this time. Hope you can see it well, Harshil.
Yep, I can.
Perfect.
So next slide. Yep, so maybe I should give a little bit of background. So this is the first hackathon where we've really made a dent in coming up with some ideas as to how we will be implementing DSL2 on NF Core, how we will be structuring the NF Core modules repository, how we will be dealing with the standard and vital important things that we try not to compromise on, which are things like reproducibility, simplicity, standardization, automation, all of these things. And so it's been a really, really productive week, I think, for us. Like I've mentioned in other talks, that we've really had to sort of just dive into this together. And so, yeah, these guys have just been amazing, all of them. Phil's been involved as well. Felix got involved yesterday. Jose's been involved. You know, we've got Paolo in yesterday. We had a discussion with him about certain things we weren't sure about, so we could, you know, iron out those details. So yeah, thank you everyone. We've now got we're using FastQC as a prototype module to try and implement all of these things and test these things. So we've got a standardized FastQC module at the moment, which is still probably changing because we're figuring things out. But it's pretty much there, I think. We are still deciding on things like biocontainers after Bjorn's talk and the possibility of having multi-tool containers. So you know, we may not have to maintain our own GitHub Actions, Docker Hub type repository. We can just pull stuff straight from biocontainers if we're able to build multi-tool containers. It just makes much more sense to do that. And the fact that they're really tiny is also quite useful. So yeah, so maybe we'll make decisions on that soon as well. We still need to figure out how to deal with Conda, because I think Phil mentioned on Slack that if you have the Conda directive within a process, defined within a process by default, then the pipeline will try and use Conda. And so we need to figure out a way to do that. So the way I think we'll deal with that is by using some sort of optional evaluation of whether Conda is provided as on the command line or as a parameter to the pipeline to use Conda or not. Felix had a bunch of test data yesterday. He fixed a bunch of stuff that he had done at the Crick hackathon as well. So he's been getting involved, and we need to now sort of fix some of the other modules, but I guess it may still be slightly early because we need to decide exactly on what we're doing with the FastQC one first. We are now going to provide additional parameters that are required for the module within a certain execution context. Is it there? That's one of them. Yeah, so we're now going to provide additional parameters that are required for the module in a certain execution context via a map, after having discussions with Paolo and amongst ourselves. Rad got involved with that as well. And that just makes things easier, because then you can have a map and the map can have certain attributes, and then you can also overwrite these things when you execute, in the context of where you execute the module, and you're not stuck to having to providing those parameters where you include the module. So I think we've decided on that as well. In terms of publishing as well, we've come up with, I think, quite a neat solution in that we will use a glob as default, I think, to provide files that you can customize to output from a particular module. So I have an optional glob that the developer can provide. Or we have other options for not outputting anything, so none, and outputting everything, which would be all. So that seems to be nailed down again, but I think we need to figure out how to implement all of this. And so, yeah, the next few weeks, I think we'll be collating all of this information, testing it, making things work, and seeing where we go from there. But thank you everyone for getting involved and getting us to this point. Next slide, please, Gisela. Rike, do you want to talk about this, or you, Gisela?
Sure, I can give an overview. So I guess our aim was to start porting Sarek to DSL2, and we went the other way around, not working on the modules first, but working on the workflow first and just using local modules. So yeah, we implemented a sub-workflow that builds all the indices that Sarek needs, and also finished adding the pre-processing modules and the mapping. And we're now at the mark duplicates process. And actually, I just made a pull request, so I'm just waiting for Maxime to review it. So I've been quite happy with the progress this week, given that on Monday we had no idea what we were doing, basically. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so I guess the next step is to use the NF core modules and not the local ones, at least for all the processes that we can, and then of course convert the remaining processes. And yeah, hopefully we get this done soon. It's been a lot of fun also doing pair programming with sharing Visual Studio Code between Gisela, Maxime, and me to get more of a hackathon-y feeling on this. Yep. Thank you.
Yes, that was definitely a lot of fun. We would recommend this for other teams to try.
Harshal, do you want to take ChipSeq, or should I just?
Yeah, no, you can if you want, yeah.
Yeah, looks like Harshal also did a lot of progress on the ChipSeq pipeline. Yeah, he started implementing all the software that's listed in issue 176, 67, I guess, which are luckily a lot of modules that overlap with Sarek. So hopefully you can share some stuff here at some point. Yeah, and also starting to porting the main pipeline code. And we've occasionally actually looked at your development branch as well when we hit a bump in the road and didn't know how to proceed with some things.
Yeah, so that was me just basically trying to do pretty much what you guys are doing. Like, we're doing things locally first, because obviously I wanted to keep the same logic I had in the pipeline and test that and make sure that the results are the same before I start changing stuff around. And so I think I got as far as mark duplicates as well, where
nice.
And yeah, then just was distracted with 1,000 other things and module formats and stuff. But yeah, that pipeline, it'll be interesting to get this now that we know kind of what we're doing. It'd be interesting to try and get this working end to end as well, I think. So yeah.
Cool.
All right, so I guess that was all for this team. Yeah, it was definitely a lot of developments going on this week. And we're happy to see it's moving into the DSL2 direction. So as a next hackathon project, we will present the existing pipelines team. So
yeah, I will do this. So the goal was to improve the existing pipelines. If you can go to the next slide. So yeah, there were five main pipelines people worked on during the last week. So starting with Sarek, RNA fusion, EGA, the MEC pipeline, and the diaproteomics pipeline. And I'm just giving you a very brief overview about the progress without going into the individual issues. Next slide. So yeah, starting with the eager pipeline, the team aimed to fix some remaining issues and add some documentation to prepare for the next release, namely 2.2, and also add some benchmarking for this. Next slide. And they indeed fixed a couple of issues. One thing maybe worth mentioning, they added some output documentation figures where I just had a look and I found it looked really beautiful and actually helpful. So maybe that's worth to have a look at. They also added some tutorial on how to use profiles for reproducible science and fixed some multi-QC stuff. So they got some stuff done. Next slide. However, there's still the benchmarking topic is still in progress, and they also still need to solve some AWS issues and add some example case studies for usage of the pipeline.
Yeah, as the latest update, I think they actually managed to solve the AWS issue that they had with, it was in a process with merging lanes, and I think removing that one fixed the issues. So yeah, hopefully that moves on now also.
Even better.
Wait, so you need to resolve finding the AWS issues there? Is that what the slide says?
Yes.
Finding them.
Yeah, they found where the issue is exactly. Yeah, with the merge, some process for merging the lanes in the pipeline. But yeah, maybe they can explain better in the channel in Slack as well.
Okay, yeah, the next pipeline is Zarek. Rico already talked about it regarding the DSL2 topic. So the aim were in general to fix remaining issues and update the pipeline and add port it to DSL2. Next slide. And they also indeed solved a couple of different issues, and someone wrote that they have now real progress because they can run it on real samples with the latest developer branch, which is not failing. Which sounds very nice, although I guess it already worked often already before. And as Rike mentioned, they ported it or made already progress in porting it to DSL2. Okay, then next slide. Yeah, the next pipeline was RNA fusion, where the aim also was to make a release. Is there some bullet point missing? Oh. Okay, never mind. I didn't find any detailed information about what these guys worked on. However, I saw 2 days ago, they also released version 1.2. So they also had some success during this week. Yeah, the next pipeline was the MEC pipeline, where I was working on a bit with together with Daniel. And the aim was to fix some remaining bugs and also prepare a release. Next slide. So, and we've also indeed fixed some issues about different topics and error handlings and added some documentation. Next slide. However, there were also some remaining issues, so we did not yet release. So we aim for next week now. And one of the remaining issues that we still have the problem that they're missing input files, which is not really reproducible. So I didn't exactly know how to tackle this issue and postponed it for now. And regarding the Busco problem, I started updating it to version 4 now, which is in the basic version running, but there's currently some issues with the databases, which I need to fix first. So release is coming soon. Yeah, so the next pipeline was DIA proteomics, where Leon Bichmann worked on, and his aim were also to fix some remaining bugs, update the template, and update the container. And also, if possible, add some new processes. Next slide. And he indeed fixed the container, updated it, and also updated the template. And fixed some decoding problem with EasyPQP. But it's still some to do for the future to add EasyPQP step in the pipeline. That's it for the existing pipelines.
Okay, thank you, Sabrina. There were quite some people working on these pipelines. And we even got the RNA fusion release this week, so quite a successful hackathon for this team. Let's move on now to the new pipelines team, which also had quite some people. And I think, so who was presenting? Daniel, can it be that you were presenting today?
Yes, but our team progress is on the 11th slide, I guess.
So we are presenting for the full team. So if you can present for the all the people. Sorry, I thought that's what you meant. Otherwise, somebody can jump in. So you would like to present for everybody or just for your part?
Well, I can try for everybody.
Okay, that'd be great. Don't worry, it's everything on the slides.
Okay, so there were a lot of people in a new pipeline, on the creating new pipelines teams. And first pipeline was QTL map, and it was being developed by Nerlan from the University of Tartu. And he wanted to automate quantitative trait loci, QTL mapping. And the pipeline should take genotype and molecular phenotype data together with some phenotype reference files and generate QTL summary statistic according to given parameters. And he also linked the GitHub repository here. And for the progress, testing is still missing, and some tools used in the pipeline are not in Conda. So he's using pre-built executables currently. Next one is the RIF-Seq pipeline created by Eric from National Bioinformatics Infrastructure, Sweden. And the aim was to analyze a new type of highly multiplexed and RNA isolation-free RNA sequence data from the Nilsson lab at Stockholm University. And the pipeline will demultiplex, perform QC, estimate gene expression, as well as perform differential expression and downstream analysis, such as enrichment analysis from I lost this one.
I think it's cut. No worries. I guess we have an idea.
Okay, so from let's see it. From this new data. Okay, so going next. The progress was that the SNAME-marker-based pipeline has been developed since 2019, which now also has an NF-core-based version next door. And it was created from the NF-core template and initially used DSL1, but has since started using DSL2. And he's still working on linting, documentation, and other things related to getting it ready for incorporation into NF-core is currently ongoing. Okay, and the availability, as the owners of the new method have yet to publish their technology, the RIF-Seq pipeline is currently residing in the private GitHub repository, and permission to view and contribute to the code can be granted to hackathon attendees, though, if there's an interest in this. And the next one is our pipeline. So the SimSeeker aim was to create a tool that allows the user who has a set of annotation antibodies, as from a CSV file, to look for antibodies in the reference set, which can be huge. and match these annotations, such as V-genes or canonical faults, or similar CDR peptide sequences. And the progress is that we created input and parameter validation, aligner process, reference chunking, and filtering process. And we were trying hard to make a live demo today, but we were a few hours short. What is left to do is put together main workflow, collect results, and make integration tests in the pipeline. Okay, and the next one is GYAS pipeline. And aim was to make a genome-wide association analysis pipeline and to make a first release. Okay, CageSec. Okay, the next one is CageSec, and the aim was to write documentation for CageSec of 1.0 release. And the progress is that he finished the README and so automated pipeline documentation section in tools presentation. Next pipeline is the POP-Boom pipeline, created by Matthias from University of Tübingen, and aim is to make, and this is an acronym for prediction of phenotype based on metagenome. Species abundances in samples are used to train machine learning models from prediction of illnesses. And the progress is that he rewritten the assignment of species abundances based on the next workshop. Their choices are Kraken2, centrifuge, and metaflan 3. The next step is to include a random forest script as a first machine learning method, with a goal to extend it to other methods later. Yeah, and I think that's all of the pipelines. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel, for presenting the progress for the whole team. And thank all of you for participating into the hackathon. It has been a lot of fun organizing this. Somebody has questions to somebody else for the progress session. I see there were some questions for the tools, but they were already solved in the chat. Yeah, we will send you stickers and after this hackathon, and don't forget to send us your postal addresses if you would like to receive some physical remaining also from this hackathon. And otherwise, yeah, it's just left for me to say to you, thank you all for participating. It was a great pleasure. And if you haven't had enough of NF Core yet, next week there's the BOSC. I think maybe Phil also wants to say something about it. He's going to be presenting there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I don't know how many other people are going to be joining the BOSC conference next week, the Bioinformatics Open Source Conference. This year it's being co-hosted with the Galaxy Conference. It was going to be in Toronto, but it's now online, and it's called BCC 2020. I'm not sure if registration is still open or not, but if it's not, you can make it. I recommend joining. It's a really good conference, spanning 2 time zones. So wherever you are in the world, then you should be able to join live. And there'll be a very short 5-minute talk about NF Core twice. So I'm going to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning answering questions. It should be a lot of fun, but you've already seen everything I'm going to present. And there's also one about multi-QC as well. But yeah, so that runs Sunday to Wednesday, I think, the conference. And then after that will be the CodeFest. I'm never sure if it's CodeFest or CodeFest, but it's a mini hackathon with lots of different stuff. Alex is one of the co-organizers along with Mike here, and I'm kind of helping a little bit. So there should be a few of us doing NF Core stuff. So there's a BOSC BCC special chat client for that called Discord, which is being used by the people who are joining. But of course we'll be using the NF Core Slack as well. So even if you're not going to BOSC, then you can still kind of join in and pretend that you're on a mini hackathon with us on Slack, and it should be great. And my talk will be going up online and everything, so you can catch that if you haven't had enough of my voice over the past few days. Yeah, I would also like to say a huge thank you to Gisela and Friederike a little bit for organising this week. It's been a phenomenal success. I think everyone will agree with me there. As was mentioned in the introduction, this was all meant to be a physical event in Heidelberg, and that's how it started off. And then what with the current situation around the world, everything was thrown into the air, and we had to kind of completely rethink the whole event from scratch on very short term. Gisela's done an amazing job of organising all of this, orchestrating it. There's been a lot of stuff behind the scenes for the past few weeks, building up to this event, making sure everything was ready, testing Zoom, making sure all the links were ready. So really can't underestimate how much has gone into this, and we're all extremely grateful. And I think the legacy of this hackathon will be the work that's been gone into the modules especially, which has really defined the direction that the whole NF Core project is going to take in the coming years. So it's been a really important event for us, and we really appreciate the work you put in. We can't give you a physical present to say thank you, but Alex, I'm not sure if he's on Zoom, but he's promised me that he's going to come around to your house next week and give you and Frida a little bottle of wine to say thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you too as well, Phil. I mean, you also did helped us a lot organizing these and set up the website page, which was great to be able to follow all the links and all the videos there. So yeah, I'm glad it went so well, and I hope everybody could enjoy it.
Yeah, and maybe we should just say we're planning to cut up, so all these videos are online, they're streamed, and they'll be there forever. But we're also going to, because they have several talks merged together, we're planning to chop them up into new little shorter videos, which will be easier to find in the future. So you'll see them pop up in the coming days, hopefully.
Yep, exactly. So with that said, thank you again, everybody, for joining, and see you around in Slack, I guess, most of you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.